as we finish, go through Romans chapter 8 and take a moment to circle or highlight or do something to find every place where Paul talks about Spirit, and specifically Holy Spirit. So he goes through this and he talks and he says, the Spirit, and you're like, well, that's, Paul uses an article. How come you don't, Sarah? Well, because I'm not Paul. I know it's subtle, but there's a big difference. And here's my deal. When you do this circling thing, this little exercise, finding all the highlighting where it says Holy Spirit, here in my Bible, you'll see I highlighted everything orange that referenced Holy Spirit. And when you do this, you're going to see that there's a whole lot of Holy Spirit in here, in this chapter, that maybe you weren't aware of before. And the next thing I would say, after you highlight all this, then go back and look at the verbs, the action words that go with each mention of Holy Spirit. Because that little exercise right there is going to kind of have some introductory components, ingredients for you in terms of connecting with Holy Spirit. And it will refresh some things. Some of you have done this before, and it's good to have kind of a refresher to remind you and just to help you kind of walk through and think, okay, who's Holy Spirit? And just as a quick summary as I finish up for our time together, the verbs here, and I'm just going to tell them to you real quick, but I'm still going to make you're like, oh, I'm going to go back and watch this again. You can, but here are the verbs. First verb is walk. Second verb is mindset, thinking. Third verb is dwelling. The next one is make alive. Next one is to put to death. To be led. Those who are led by Holy Spirit are sons of God. Bears witness, convinces our inside. Holy Spirit helps us in our weaknesses. And Holy Spirit intercedes for us. 9 verbs. So on this cusp of Pentecost, on this eve, a few days before, whenever you're watching this, I just encourage you to have some kind of recalibrating, resetting. Who's Holy Spirit? Who is Holy Spirit? Do I have any obstacles? What would those be? And maybe do this kind of little exercise here at the end to say, okay, Holy Spirit, help me have some of these verbs active in my life because of your presence in my life. And I just encourage you as we finish here, let's allow Holy Spirit to fully be himself with and to us, not pieces and parts. The more you know somebody, the broader that you get to know them. And sometimes I think there are pieces and parts of people that we don't like, so we tend to we shy away from that. But with Holy Spirit, let's not shy away from any part of who Holy Spirit is. Let's be wide open and say, yep, welcome all of who you are, all of what you do, both in terms of gifts and fruits, and most importantly, connection as a family member in the family of God. Because as we finish, I just leave you with this verse. Romans 8, and I think it's 16, it says, Holy Spirit bears witness with our spirit that we are God's son, God's daughter. You are family. You are in the family with God. God is your Father, loves you deeply. And Holy Spirit pours the love of the Father into your heart because that's who God is. And connecting with Holy Spirit helps us to connect with that love. So